Stand by. You're on.
Okay, call to order the September 28th, 2020 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first action item is to approve the minutes from the January 2020 meeting. I have a motion to approve those minutes.
I move to approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Second action item is to approve the minutes from the February 2020 meeting. Do you have a motion to approve those minutes?
I move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to have Director Hall, before we get to number 3, Director Hall has some words for us.
Can we hang on 1 second? Can we just go back to open, just in case we have any public comment? We need to do that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. We'll just need to let them know what number to call in and see if anybody does have anything to offer.
Okay, we will open for public comment. It should be on the number should be on your screen, but it's for the Boulder City Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. You can call in at 702-589-9629. Again, that's 702-589-9629 if you'd like to provide comment.
I assume if they call in later, they could get a comment in if they don't make it, Mr.
That is correct. And there is a time delay, so we just give them a few minutes.
Well, hearing no callers, I think we should move on. If somebody has comment later, we can make some adjustment. Director Hall?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And members of the Parks and Rec Commission, I wanted to say that during these difficult times, I appreciate you taking time to attend this meeting. You know, we've had some trying times with the COVID-19 virus. However, my staff has stepped up to the plate and done an outstanding job. And hopefully we can get back to normal and be able to fully service our residents. I just wanted to welcome you all back. And I'm sure we'll be changing our format here as the governor releases some of the restrictions. But for right now, this is the best we can do. So welcome back.
Thank you, and thank you to your staff for holding the course.
Thank you.
Our next item is presentation of the annual report. Is that Julia right there?
Thank you. I will be presenting you the Parks and Recreation Annual Report, which is highlighting the department's activities from the last 12 months. This is an annual departmental review for City Council and was part of their July 14th meeting. The department's mission is to provide high-quality, cost-effective recreation activities for all residents of Boulder City. We organize programs, sports, and classes for participants from age 6 months to 100 plus. Our department is responsible for cleaning over 100,000 square feet of facilities, including 17 parks and 24 sets of restrooms. We coordinate special events, facility rentals, and film shoots. The department staff facilitates support for the Parks and Recreation Commission and the Municipal Pool Ad Hoc Committee. We also have department staff representation on the AB 73 Working Group, Southern Nevada Continuum of Care Board, and the Boulder City Homeless Task Force. We were very fortunate last year to have funding for several park and facility improvements, including a new ramp at the skate park, shade structures for Wayland and Vets baseball fields, a drop-down divider for the new gym, a new water fountain at the rec center, and broadbent playground sand safety surfacing. The Parks and Recreation Department teamed up with Public Works Department to complete several projects, including the very visible one right outside Parks and Recreation Building. The diseased trees were removed and replaced with drought-resistant turf and water-saving irrigation system. It has been a bit of a drastic change, but we have received nothing but compliments. Another exciting project was the plans for the Hemingway Park expansion. The plans included a nature trail, irrigation improvements, and interpretive signs to encourage more activity for visitors wanting to see the bighorn sheep. The municipal golf course project included the renovation of par 3 tee boxes and greenside bunkers. Finally, Teddy Fitton Park by the old water filtration plant was renovated with great success. The landscape department supervised this project, which include new landscape, irrigation, bench repairs, and lighting. If you haven't been up there to see it lately, I highly recommend you go, especially at night when the sculptures are lit up. We do want to highlight some of our accomplishments, including our youth sports program receiving the Better Sports Awards from the National Association of Youth Sports, and I'm sure Kelly will share more information on that with you. We also established a partnership with local professional sports teams. Our accomplishments include having a pop-up community event at the skate park the beginning of March. This event, organized by the Parks and Recreation Department, was to highlight the new ramp at the skate park at Veterans Memorial Park. We hope to be able to do more pop-up events in the future. As you can see, we have increased participation in adult and youth sports. Cherie and her staff sponsored a swim-a-thon and donated proceeds to Emergency Aid of Boulder City and the Boulder City Animal Shelter. Bootleg Canyon's revenue increased for fiscal year 2019, 62%. And at a special meeting in February, this committee was presented with a draft of the Parks Master Plan. Just while things were rolling along, projects were getting completed, and our busy spring schedule was about to begin, the shutdown of COVID began. The Parks and Recreation Department jumped in and offered emergency child care supervision shelter for first responders, along with city and Boulder City hospital staff. We were also very busy with cancellation of almost 500 classes, programs, and special events. Protocols quickly changed, and our buildings were locked, sanitation was increased, and masks were required. Navigating the ever-changing phases and protocols was challenging as staff continued to provide recreation opportunities within the governor's framework. What have we learned from COVID? One thing we know for sure, parks and open spaces are very vital to our community. In April, March, May, and still today, families and community members are spending time in our parks like never before. We also are reminded that golfers are very passionate about their sport. They were very vocal when the courses closed and returned to the course in record numbers when the golf courses reopened. Golf has thrived the past few months with revenues exceeding up to 46% in comparison to the same months in 2019 at the municipal golf course. Overall, COVID has reminded us that the Parks and Recreation Department serves a very important function in our community, not only for everyone's health physically, but also mentally and socially. In closing, when we look forward, we hope to continue to offer pop-up events for our community when allowed to, based on the governor's guidelines. We hope to continue to improve our community assets like the golf course, pool complex, parks, and playgrounds. We are also working with our software registration system to be able to take online payments for classes. And finally, we're navigating the new normal as the country continues to move forward within the ever-changing world of COVID. This concludes this year's review for Parks and Recreation. Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions from the commission.
I have a comment to make. I was astounded to see what you did as far as the first responder and the child care associated with that. I can't think of a more positive way to respond to the first responders and help them with that critical need. So I certainly applaud everything you've done there. And also, aren't you responsible for organizing the testing going on around town at the various sites?
That is correct, and I'll have some more information on that in the next agenda item.
But again, it's such a positive thing. So the response that Parks and Recs have done has been, in my mind, phenomenal. I really applaud you. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4 is another possible action item with items pertaining to the Boulder City Municipal Golf Course for discussion of possible action on the operational reports. That you,
Well, you're going to have to approve the operation.
I think we're looking for a motion.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
For a motion.
I'm sorry. So need a motion to approve the Boulder City operational reports, excuse me, the operational reports for the Boulder City Municipal Golf Course.
I move to approve.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, now for the discussion.
Thank you, sir. Well, COVID-19 affected both golf courses as the governor closed them down for approximately 6 weeks. During this time, we capitalized on the closing of the course to do a number of projects, which during regular times would have impacted golf play on both golf courses. The greenside bunkers were completely renovated with new drains, rock and weed control barriers, and new sand. The par 3 tee boxes were stripped of sod. They were all unleveled. So we leveled them up, reworked, and resodded the par 3 tee boxes. Maintenance staff were able to fill in potholes on the cart paths, entrances, and exits. The cattails were cleaned out on lakes 13 and 14, and larger targets were built on the driving range. Other maintenance items including summer mowing and weed eating around all trees, the lakes, streams, and perimeter edges, the replacement of sprinklers and lateral valves, trimming trees in other areas on the course were completed during this time. And as Julie mentioned, the comeback of the municipal golf course especially was astounding as people love their golf, they wanted to play, and as soon as we opened them all up, we had record numbers following CDC and the governor's guidelines. So very happy about that. So again, we turned a bad thing into a good thing. We were able to do a lot of projects on the course without impacting the golf. And as soon as the golf opened up again, the course is in great shape, and the numbers show for it. So that's the end of my report.
I had a question on I noticed that there's a kind of an electric scooter in play. Is that specific for the COVID to separate people from not riding in the same cart together, or what's those are
Good.
interesting.
One of the challenges with COVID is that if you're not golfing with somebody in your immediate family, then you can only have one person per golf cart, which has been very challenging. The number of rounds have kind of been limited. We could actually be able to accommodate, if we could do two people in a golf course, we would be able to accommodate a lot more rounds. So with that in mind, Andy, I believe our golf professional leased, I think 15 of these. So they're sometimes at one course, sometimes at the other. So to be able to provide more golfers at one time because they are single unit riders. They do pay a slight premium for those, but yes, it was to be able to accommodate more people because of COVID.
Great, yeah, that was interesting. Okay, now we'll have a verbal report from Director Hall on the maintenance issues and playability of the Muni Golf Course.
Yeah, well, I had a couple other things too, though. Yeah, well, basically on the getting ready for, a lot of the projects, as I spoke before, were completed during this time. But the typical maintenance issues on the course were done as well. First of all, you have to mow the darn thing. You seed it, you mow it, you fertilize it, it grows, you mow it again. A lot of the mowing happens. A lot of the tree limbs, it was pretty windy during the summer, and it did create some issues with trees, and a lot of the limbs were taken care of. Weed eating around the traps and bunkers and all that to make it look nice and get ready to open up the place. So maintenance continues whether you do special projects or not. And the maintenance crew did a great job in getting the course ready to open up after 6 weeks of being closed. So
It's being overseeded right now, right?
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, item number 5 for possible action is items pertaining to the Recreation and Parks, Recreation Division of the Parks and Recreation Department. So for discussion and possible action regarding the operational report, do I have a motion to approve that report?
I move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Any opposed? And that report is approved. So we'll have a verbal report from Program Coordinator Jennifer Spinkling.
Hello. I started out by giving you all a few handouts. One is our new brochure that started September 1. And then there's another one that highlights our art center. Got a lot of interesting new classes by Linda Schaefer, and she has usually at least 4 students for those classes. She's really been bringing a lot to the art center. And then the last one is our Safe Key flyer, and I'll talk about that in a minute. As Julie talked about, COVID-19 closed down all of our programming, our facilities, and all of our classes. So on March 17th, we started an emergency child care program at the rec center. It was for city employees and for the hospital workers. And we had anywhere from 2 to 10 kids, excuse me, a day. And it was also offered at free of charge. So that was nice. We did that for 2 months, operated it Monday through Thursday, 7 to 6. And then in May, we started an all-day program called Be Boulder Kids Crew. And that expanded eventually to 34 kids on June 1st, and we charged $20 a day. And we limited enrollment. People had to pay for specific days so that we knew what to plan for, how many staff to have. And then we kept the kids in basically the cohorts where they were always in with the same group of kids and adults. And that ran until school started, and we did it for another 2 weeks, and now we have our afternoon Safe Key. Once the school year started, we did not have the interest in the all-day program. Most people had found other family sources in the community, offering at Christian Center and Little Lambs. And so we ended with not really having a need and more people wanting time for their kids to socialize. They're not getting that in school right now, so looking for things where they can also do some of the extracurricular things like sports, arts, things like that. So we've planned afternoons, 2:30 till 6, Monday through Friday, and we're still down at the ABC Park. We started on September 10th with that, and anywhere from 2 to 10 kids every day. And we do anything from, we have a gym day where they play different games and arts and try to do something different each day. So that we plan to do at the ABC Park Center until school actually opens up and we can go back into the school and offer it there. I know I've said a lot right there. Does anybody have any questions about that program?
So you were able to develop a program that navigated all these COVID-19 rules and,
We did the best we could and changed as things changed. Started, we sanitize high-touch surfaces. When we first started down at ABC Park with the Boulder Kids crew, we divided them into different facilities, and we had extra staff that would stay behind after we finished up, clean up. Another 2 people moved with the kids, and we kind of moved them around and kept things.
able to social distance and,
They do their best. I mean,
Well-
they're kids, so we do everything we can, but they are kids. You can tell them to
Certainly.
quit touching each other a million times, they're still gonna touch each other. But we do the best we can, and I have to say, we've been pretty successful. Nothing has, spread around, which, we had up to 34 kids with the staff to accommodate all that, and isolated anything that came up, and it's been successful. So we're very
commendable,
thankful.
very commendable.
So then in June, we also opened the Art Center. It was the first facility we opened, and it was kind of because the classes were small, didn't really have anything but the instructors that would meet their students. So one point of entrance, and they have hand sanitizing wipes. They have a cleaner to clean up the high-touch surfaces once the class is over, face masks.
Nice. Oh.
So they meet them there with a thermometer and a log, and we log everybody's name, the date and the time, and their temperature. So I always have a supply of masks there, but most people bring their own. And so we started with that. They've started out with, kind of did the numbers, because in June, our special interest classes had 25 registrants, which a year before, I think we probably had 125. So, in our special interest in June, we had 25, and as of September, we had 43 this month, and that's our special interest. As far as our art center, we started with 15 people in June, and we've got up to 20 in 1 month. So it's always been a small center, but it kind of is self-sufficient, and all the teachers do a lot of their own advertising, so it doesn't, so they bring in all their own people pretty much. So it's becoming more successful as we go. And we keep offering more classes. After we opened the art center, we also started keto because they do weapons training, and I know that sounds like they're doing something, but it's just sticks and things like that. So they're far away from each other, but they're practicing different things. They're still practicing that way at this point, and it's a very small class. Middle of June, we opened up our dance classes, Pilates, line dance, tap, dance fitness, hip hop, and started a summer tiny top camp. We offered one each month for a week, and it was full every time. In July, we began Mary Hinson's functional fitness, and she has about 10 people every day. She sets their chairs out, so they're all socially distanced in the gym. They wear masks. They each have their own equipment. At the end of the class, Mary sanitizes it. She's really worked very hard to build this class, and to see some of the people improve. I've watched Mary's mom improve from when she first moved in with them. She was nowhere near she is now. I watch her go around and help Mary set everything up, and she's just going. So it's kind of cool to see that. One of the other things that has happened, our youth center, we did have to close that in March, and then this last month, Debbie retired after 29 years with the city and 23 at the youth center. She'll be missed, but we also don't know when we're gonna open up the youth center. It's more of a after-school program, so we hope that maybe when school gets back in session, we can see about hiring somebody to replace Debbie and get that open again. Tiny Tots has started, 23 in the 4 and 5-year-old class and 10 in the 3 and 4-year-old class. And Tiny Tots definitely is different. We keep them at tables when they're doing activities in there where we space them out, so they're kind of diagonal from each other. And again, they're little kids, so they definitely don't know how to social distance. But again, we high touch surface, we clean everything, temp check everybody when they come in, and the class has been really successful. One of the things we're doing different this year, Halloween, we usually trick or treat around town. And to try and take 23 kids and keep them 6 feet apart and keep them together and not lose anybody or get anybody run over, we decided to keep it in-house. And we have sent invitations to the local businesses to come to us. And we're gonna set up tables in the gym for them to hand out their goodies to each kid, and they'll travel in little groups around the gym. So far, we've already gotten RSVPs back that they would like to join us. So we're looking forward to that. Then I guess the last thing I had on here was about our afternoon safe keep, but I already did discuss that. So does anybody have any more questions for me?
I just have a comment on the COVID.
Yes.
My boys were part of the camps this summer, and through a separate input, somebody's parents tested positive for COVID. And we were immediately told as parents, they immediately sanitized the place. And I had no issues with bringing my boys back. And there were never, I don't think there was any outbreak or anything like that because and this is 3 and 4 year olds. So well done, well done.
Thank you.
Just at a time when it's probably needed as much or more than any time when kids aren't in school and they don't have anything to do. I mean, to be able to provide that service is,
And
I think,
that's
of great value to the community.
absolutely. And that's the parents keep saying, their kids just need to be around other kids and have a little bit of normal. And it's really a new normal, but.
New normal.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Next, we'll have a verbal report from sports coordinate. Have
I
something?
had a question for Jennifer.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Are you looking for volunteers for that Halloween thing?
We could be. So far, we did put it out there to all the businesses that if they didn't feel comfortable but still wanted to send candy or something to hand out, that we would have somebody hand it out. So, Bill, if we have some of those, I will definitely reach out if you were interested.
Okay, thank you. I'll think on that, please.
Cool. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kelly?
Hi, everyone. Sports happened to make it through kindergarten through second hockey. So we actually got something in for the beginning of the year. We actually finished on March 14th. And that was a little scary that Saturday. We did a lot of cleaning and disinfecting, but every single participant showed up to finish up the season. We did, however, we were forced to cancel adult volleyball, adult softball, 3rd through 6th grade hockey, and all of my baseball programs. When COVID hit, there was no staffing. I did my best to try and get them and encourage them to be involved. There just wasn't a whole lot of cleaning and disinfecting for them. That was a lot of work on my part. All the facilities thoroughly cleaned. We did a lot of inventory. We did do a survey and sent it out to parents of all the sports and asking them what they wanted or if they were seeking some type of sport for their children. And the result was phenomenal. A lot of people wanted their kids to get out. They were just scared and didn't know what was acceptable. So we did offer small group camp style clinics in the summer. It was the end of June, beginning of July. They were offered for 2 hours a day for 4 days. They were just small pods is what they were calling them. It's what the governor was allowing them. And we had 28 soccer kids. We only allowed 10 in a group. So 28 soccer, various ages, 15 baseball, softball, 22 hockey, and 11 football. Most everything was outside except for hockey because the parents were still a little scared about bringing their kids inside. We did use a lot of precaution. A lot of people didn't agree with the masks and they weren't going to have their kids wear masks. But the governor is very specific that when the children are doing physical exercise, they don't have to wear their masks. My staff did when they were talking with the kids, and they still do. If you don't know, we're doing little soccer pods now. We're doing a 6-week program. They come twice a week for an hour, and we're servicing them in pods, 7 to 8 kids for 2 staff members. They stay with those same staff members, and we will give them 12 days. All the municipalities have been communicating throughout COVID, and we decided that's what we could offer them, so that if the governor released the restrictions, then we could take those pods and they could become teams and they could play each other within their age groups. There's just a lot of sanitizing, a lot of disinfecting, and I know you were asking about the precautions and how we can follow them. We use our masks. We have markers for social distancing. We sanitize equipment like crazy. Between each age group, we're sanitizing the balls, all hard surfaces, and we don't allow spectators. That's probably the thing I'm getting the most blowback is I have to ask parents to either wait in their cars or not be on the fields. There's only a certain amount of people allowed at each facility, and so I'm under that, and so we're operating that way. We also have started some clinics to try and entice kids and operate the same way for co-ed volleyball in the sand, which we will start mid-October, and we have 33 3rd through 8th graders signed up for that. And then flag football will operate the same way. And we just had our clinic on Saturday, and we have 30 children signed up for that. And that also is 3rd through 8th grade. So we're operating minimally, but we're still offering for those parents that really want to get their kids out there still and be with kids their own age. They're in the house all day long by themselves looking at a computer, and so this gives them an hour to get out. Right now, we have 115 children in the soccer program. Now, normally I operate probably triple that, but I'm just excited to hear those little voices outside. If you guys are ever near Pratt, Monday through Thursday, that's what the lights are on for. And they're out there, and they're learning skills, and they're doing drills, and they're having a great time. And to hear that laughter, there's nothing like it. As Julie mentioned, during COVID, I used that time to do a little bit of paperwork and a little research on how we could receive the Better Sports for Kids designation. I put that in front of you. It had the checklist on what was needed to be a part of that quality program, and then the manual that we updated. It basically legitimizes the work that we put into the training of our staff, the informing our parents about our recreation program, and preparing our volunteers that are our coaches. And so a lot of preparation as far as paperwork, updating literature, our website, and we got the designation. It was very exciting because even though it's a certificate, it's letting the parents know that we're doing a thorough check on background checks for people who are our coaches operating with their kids. We are allowing those coaches to have information for any emergency, anything that happens on the fields or in our gymnasiums, and how to plan for them and how to react to them. It has all the contact information on who you would contact for fire or choking, or if you need to contact me or Jamie on the weekends. And so just a lot of information that I felt like I didn't have time for before, and during COVID I had time for it. So we put it all together, compiled it, and turned it in, and they were just thrilled that Boulder City was a part of that. So that was a big thing for us. We also opened pickleball up. That was May, and it really is the only facility that we have open. My staff is operating that, and the reason we do that is because we can assure that we're following the governor's guidelines and the CDC guidelines. And I say that because we clean it, we take temperatures, we only allow a certain amount of people in there, even with staff, and we thoroughly sanitize it between use. The residents of Boulder City get onto a site, and they reserve the spot. So they have an hour and 15 minutes, and there are 8 of them in the new gymnasium, and they set it up themselves so that only 8 are in there at a time. There can't be any spectators. And so we have some time slots, and I did have the staffing to staff it, and they're doing a phenomenal job. They're doing floors and the nets and the hard surfaces and the walls and the bathrooms, and they're making sure everything is highly sanitized. We ask that the players wear masks upon entry, not when they're playing, but when they're getting their temperatures checked, and that they use their own equipment. We also have a separate entrance and a separate exit so that there's no transition with the next time period. And then there's a time frame where we allow for cleaning that nobody would be in the facility. Right now, Jamie and I are attempting some adult sports activities as well. We didn't have a whole lot over the summer, but we did have a soccer shootout in August. Not very many people participated, but we did get some people out. We had a home run derby 2 weeks ago. We had about 12 participants in that. And then we have an over-the-line activity, which is a softball light contest. That will be out at Hemingway this next weekend. And then we're attempting a sand volleyball competition, especially if the restrictions are lifted. Then these people love to be watched. So it's the adult sports. They want to have an audience, and so it's very difficult for them to come to a home run derby if they don't have 10 or 12 of their friends watching them hit it out of the park. And I think that's what stopped them. But we just have to keep reminding people that they can't bring their children and they can't sit and watch, because that's more surface area that we have to clean also. So if they're sitting in their cars or they're outside of the fence, then we're within regulation. I think I got everything. Following the governor's guidelines as much as we can. And I also have to consider the NIAA restrictions that were put in place, as well as Boulder City High School. They're not allowing their coaches to face-to-face with any of their athletes. And as many of you know, we have 2 fields that are used by Boulder City High School. And so all of our facilities right now are closed, and the baseball and softball facilities are being seeded. So if the restrictions are lifted, that may change for our Boulder City boys and girls, but right now they're closed. We don't have the ability to make sure people are following the guidelines. If I'm there and I'm making people follow the guidelines, that's a little bit different. That's what the youth sports program is, and I'm there every night making sure it happens. So hopefully this week we'll have good news. Otherwise, we're just going to keep on trucking and keep my staff in masks and keep them in pods. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Questions on the phone?
Oh, go ahead.
Any questions on the phone?
I do, Chuck.
Go ahead, Chuck.
So, with the youth sports, do you take their temperatures when they show up outside, or how does that work?
So Jamie and I have tables set at both ends of Pratt right now. And so when the kids come to enter their pod, they can't go to their pod until they get their temperature checked. If they're above...
Until they get to the pod.
Yeah, so if they're above 100.3, I do not let them on the field. So that has only happened once. But for the most part, everybody's been pretty good about following the procedure.
Oh, that's good. And for anybody out there that hasn't seen an over-the-line tournament, you've got to go check them out. They are pretty awesome. They're different.
They're fun. Thanks, Chuck. And you guys aren't here, Bill and Chuck, but I'm going to send pictures around, too, of some of the programming I've had.
Yeah, I can see them. Everybody thought about that, didn't they?
Nice job, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly. Next, we have verbal reports from Manager Julie Calloway on the Recreation Administration.
Thank you. As normally done in our meetings, I have provided the list of special events, which is a little sad because you see all those cancellations. But We do have some that are still happening within the governor's framework, so that part is good. I also provided you with a spreadsheet just to kind of show you how we've been keeping track of the events that have canceled, and it also shows some revenue figures or loss of revenue, just to kind of give you an idea of what we've been doing these last couple of months. So hopefully that'll change, and we'll be able to open up and have more special events moving forward. So I wanted to update you on park projects and improvements, and just let you know that for right now they are currently on hold. City Council has delayed all CIP projects until January of 2021, when there's a better idea of what the full economic impact of COVID might be. So we are basically on hold. Likewise, even with our operating budgets, any discretionary spending is currently on hold, again, until we have a better idea of the revenues that'll be coming in moving forward. This summer, we did have an influx of memory bench purchases. I think since April, we've ordered 6 memory benches, and they are at 5 different park locations. Our office staff has really had a lot on its plate these last few months with COVID. The first months were spent canceling and postponing classes and special events. And with that, of course, came the influx of the refund process. Our staff also willingly performed many duties outside their normal job descriptions. We had Tiny Tot teachers and youth center staff taping off and barricading playgrounds. Our office staff was repurposed to support the emergency child supervision shelter and Be Boulder Kids crew. Everyone has become sanitation experts. We have made every effort to keep as many people working as possible and truly appreciate our staff's commitment to our community. The Parks and Recreation Office has also become the COVID-19 testing appointment setters for Boulder City community. Beginning in May, the Boulder City Fire Department began community testing, and the Parks and Recreation Department volunteered to be responsible for taking reservations. Residents call our office and we schedule their COVID testing appointments and provide the fire department with the necessary testing documents and labels for each testing day. Testing appointments have slowed down dramatically, but we are continuing to schedule through October. Regarding community gardens, we do have 2 of our seasoned community gardeners who have volunteered their time, their skills, and their knowledge to benefit the gardens as a whole. Gardeners Cheryl Waits and Wendy Wilson are going to be a point of reference for our gardeners. They will welcome new gardeners and show them the ropes and be available for any gardeners who have any specific needs or struggles. They'll oversee and maintain the common areas, and they'll notify staff on any issues, including watering schedules or irrigation problems. We're excited to have them take this lead for us and kind of just be our eyes and ears out there at the gardens, because they're out there almost daily. So as Kelly mentioned earlier, one of the things that has resulted out of COVID is that there's been a lot of multi-jurisdictional information and meetings and shared resources. I know Jennifer and I are on weekly phone calls with safe key providers throughout the Vegas Valley and sometimes Mesquite as well, just so that everybody is kind of on the same page as far as how they interpret the guidelines and how they're operating their different programs, whether it be a distance learning program or an all-day child supervision program. We've even sat in on conferences and phone calls with members of Clark County School District, including the superintendent. So that has been a big thing, is just that group effort, and so that everybody is on the same page and doing everything the same. And with that, I think Director Hall has something to share with you about the directors in the Las Vegas Valley.
Thank you, Julie. Today, the City of Boulder City joined the cities/county of Las Vegas, Henderson, Clark County, North Las Vegas, and Mesquite in providing a joint statement on reopening playgrounds and permitting special events, sports leagues, competitions, and tournaments. We stand united in our quest to get things back to normal. And Kelly has provided you a copy of the letter that just went out today. And hopefully it might have some impact. Heard from a good source about the possibility that there might be some changes with the governor's directives this week. And we're looking forward to possibly expanding our programs as per the governor's directive and the CDC guidelines. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, there's a number of promises that we make, and this was signed by all the directors of Parks and Recreation for the whole valley, including Clark County, Henderson, Vegas, Mesquite, North Las Vegas, and the city of Boulder City. So.
Any questions on that letter? I know you guys haven't had a chance to read it, but there's like 7 or 8 bullet points there that address what the kind of the agreement is, or what the hope is, I guess.
Yes, that's correct.
I think I'm reading this correctly. Is this the maximum of 50 people or less, or 50% of the fire code? Is that for parks and playgrounds as well? And how are you going to maintain that if it is?
Well, basically, it's for special events, I would think.
Just special events?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or, the swimming pool, the number of people that are out in the swimming pool based on square footage. But yeah, this is 50 people is what the governor has for a maximum 50 people for special events at this time. And we are anticipating the governor increasing that number this week sometime.
Wonderful.
So hopefully, we'll knock on wood.
Thank you.
Roger, Julie, on the playground equipment that's taped off in all the parks, that's got to be a struggle, huh? I was in Veterans Sunday.
It's a struggle every day.
Yeah.
Our guys, they have the patience of Job. They sit there and they look for the barricades because they're hidden all over the park. They take the caution tape down and throw it away. We have to redo the caution tape, and then we have to sanitize the equipment. So yes, that's done on a daily basis, and hopefully we can get back to normal and get rid of that.
And you think maybe this directive by the government that's supposed to come out this week may address something like that?
It may. Hopefully it will.
Yeah, because I know that's got to be a struggle. Every time I walk the dog by there,
Oh yeah. So
it's tough.
So, Julie, I have two questions on the special events master list. So the baseball tournaments that are scheduled, they're still scheduled and hope that can still happen, or are they happening?
Correct. So that is still on there as in not canceled, hoping that something changes. Probably will be canceled.
Okay.
So, yeah, because we haven't moved forward with anything outside of the directive.
Okay, and then the other one, I see we're trying to figure out the drive-through for the trunk or treat. Is that hopeful that can happen, or?
If they can formulate it and or schedule it in some way that there's not 50 people at one time. There is a Nevada licensing board that is now approving all special events moving forward to see if their protocols are acceptable. And if they come up with strict guidelines and have a plan to make it happen and it's approved, then we'll push forward with it.
If people have questions about the trunk or treat, they can contact the chamber for questions on like that?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. And
I just have one other question. I know they've talked about in Congress this liability issue, but have you bumped into that where you're worried about some kind of litigation against the city for, I don't know, whatever that issue is?
I don't think we've ever worried about litigation regarding the flu. So I think that in many ways, we're looking at it along those same lines. We do have a release of liability form specific to the situation that we're currently under that we do have all current participants sign.
any other questions or comments on this item?
With the trunk or treat talk, has there been any talk about Halloween? Like whether kids will be able to trick or treat, or is that, have you guys heard anything?
That is definitely not something that Parks and Recreation.
Everyone's got their.
We don't mandate that. So let it happen.
I'm sure it'll be brought up with the Emergency Operation Command when we talk about it, when we get a little bit closer. We'll have to wait and see what the governor comes out with, though, this week. And
Sorry, with the playgrounds being closed, is there like a specific guideline on that? How, that they're supposed to be closed at all times still, or?
So as of right now, yes, they're supposed to be closed at all times per the governor's directive. Yes, they are. We don't have enough police to police that, so you might have seen them being used from time to time, but and I think what the governor is waiting on is overall numbers as far as health numbers and test numbers and et cetera, to come down to be able to feel like he can open those. And like I said, it appears as though we can anticipate some hopeful movement with that this week from him.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? Okay, we'll move on to item 6, which is items pertaining to the aquatic division. And do I have a motion to approve these operational reports on the aquatic division?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that approval of that report passes. So we'll hear from Cherie Brennan on classes, special events, maintenance issues at the aquatic complex.
Am I on? Good to see you. So, let me just start with, as Julie mentioned in the master plan, we had a great turnout for our swim-a-thon that we had at the end of February. And a big shout out to Miss Katie over here and the BCH Heat Wave, because she had, I think, 11 or 12 of her swimmers participate in that. So that was great. We had a few high school swim team members participate, and then some of our regular adult patrons from the pool. So it was mentioned that we brought in over $2,000, and we split that evenly between the animal shelter and emergency aid. We had 2 swimmers who swam 4,000 meters each. So that was a kudos to them. So just when high school swim team got started, we got shut down. They had about 2 weeks or so of practices, or maybe 3, and then shut down. And like Kelly had mentioned, paperwork and so forth. And I'm happy to announce that I finally got a good lifeguard staffing plan submitted to the health department. Now they're backed up with all kinds of other things, so I don't know if it's approved yet, but it is finished. So we closed mid-March and did not reopen until we reopened on June 10th. But we did have to keep the water circulating. You got to keep your pool maintained no matter what. Otherwise you get behind and takes longer to get it back to snuff. So that bubble came down on June 2nd, I think it was, and we reopened on the 10th. Initially just for lap swimmers, and then we added some adult classes. So one of our main restrictions is that with the social distancing, it's really hard to teach beginners how to swim, because typically you touch them and hold them, and we can't do that right now. So we are offering parent-child classes where the parent's in with them, and then the other end of the spectrum, our pre-swim team and adult classes. We have, through the summer, we had 4 different aerobics classes going, 1 in deep water. And we have our Swim for Fitness, which is kind of equivalent to like a master's program, master's swim class. And that's it. But even with our restrictions, people are eager to be back in the water, back with people. We have to limit how many people can be in the classes, more so than during normal times. And so the classes have been full. We had a really good summer, in light of all the things, and like everybody's mentioned, the sanitizing procedures and all that going on at the pool too. We just finished our summer season. We were open through Thursday, and now we're closed and getting ready to put the bubble back up. So the pool is drained, the pit is drained and cleaned. We are getting ready to overhaul that filtration pit. It will be the same diatomaceous earth with the big filter grids in there. So not a different type, but it will be new framework and hopefully more efficient, everything held in place properly. And that work starts, they're gonna seal the pit tomorrow, paint it with some sealant type stuff, and then as soon as the materials get here, get going on rebuilding that. So let's see, what else is going on at the pool? We don't have too many playing we still have quite a few racquetball players. We're limiting that. We're only allowing 2 in a court. We have some groups that like to play 3 or 4 in a court at a time, and we're not allowing that. It's just 2 total. Volleyball, that's, we've got one group that normally would play every week, and with the restricted numbers, they don't want to try it. So we've had some youth come in and play. So kind of like playing a sand volleyball, only 2 and 2 instead of 4 and 4. And this past Saturday we had our Soggy Doggy. So that was a good event. We only had 8 dogs, but they had a good time. So I do have just let's see, anything else happening? Oh yeah, Bubble Day is Wednesday, so that's the actual day it will go up. If I survive, no. I'm really tired today. Started early. Tomorrow will be easy, and then Wednesday hard again. But just a couple of visuals. Thank you, Roger, for printing these for me. The empty pool, the empty pit, what the grids look like outside of the pit. So our plan is to reopen on the 19th. So that's a 3-week closure as opposed to a 2-week closure, which is normal, but because of this extra work being done, anticipating it taking that extra week, and hopefully be ready to rock and roll. And at this point, nothing new. All of our current restrictions will still be in place, unless we get some new news, like we can teach swimming lessons, real swimming lessons. So yeah, but that's been really tough not having the kiddos there. Swim team's been booming, the heat wave. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions or comments regarding aquatic division?
I have a question. On your little operational report, this is for January and February, so remind us again of what damage was done, vandalism was done in December that required new windscreen on the fencing.
So somebody, and even though we have those fabulous cameras there, the bubble was in the way. So we couldn't see. But on the east side, somebody had grabbed a hold of maybe a little hole or something that might have been in that windscreen and ripped the whole length, about that much, out of almost dead middle.
And this is again, this is old, so I'm hoping, because I haven't called the pool in a while, have the phone issues been resolved and are up and working and?
Yes, Cox came in and we have all new phones throughout the city. I don't know if the pool was one of the last or what, but as far as I know, all of our phones are operating and people are able to call.
Yeah, because it was pretty bad there for a little while.
It was really bad, yes.
You were calling from cell phones and whatnot.
That was one of the things that while we were closed, they came in and in addition to the new phone system within the city, Cox moved, and I don't know all the technical terms, but like the big receivers or whatever they're called, those were out in our electric room and not necessarily exposed to the chemicals, not in the mechanical room, but still exposed to more like outdoor conditions than indoor conditions. So all of those have been moved inside.
And then I feel like we just redid the pit not too long ago. And no, it's been several years or, okay.
We did purchase some extra filter grids because some were destroyed. However, the actual construction of the item that holds the grids down has never been done for a number of years.
Okay, my remember must be wrong.
2 years ago, when we had the plaster repairs done in the pool, they tried to do some sealant
That might
in
be
the
it.
pit, but it wasn't very effective because things weren't actually removed from the pit in order to do that. So they were trying to paint around. So
Thank you.
I'd also like to, I sort of forgot about this, with the addition of the plumber who was hired into building maintenance, he's been able to do a whole lot of work for us at the pool. So a number of valves have been replaced, flow meters, we're taking out some of the old stuff that's not in use that's just still been hanging around. So that's been a really great addition to have him on board and getting to know pools.
Did we find out where all the water was going in the pool? I mean, as far as leaking?
Lake Mead? I don't know.
No, I meant,
I don't know where down into the earth. Is that what you mean?
yeah, no, it was before when we were talking about a new complex, it was one of the issues in the pool was that it was leaking really badly, that they didn't know how to fix that or...
Well, 2 years ago when we had all these plaster repairs done in the main pool, that took care of the vast majority of that.
So our pool is going to be in good shape for a couple more years? I mean, until we figure out how to get a new one?
It could probably use a full plaster. The dive tank needs some work. There's still leaking issues, but the main pool itself is not so much.
Thank you.
Anything further for the aquatic division? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next action item is to approve the report of the mountain biking and aerial trail system in Bootleg Canyon, followed by a verbal report from Director Hall. So,
Well, I think there's also a verbal report from me regarding the missing committee.
oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Ad hoc pool committee.
I missed that one, so we'll go back to item 6, number C, or letter C.
Great, thank you. So on September 15, 2020, the Municipal Pool Ad Hoc Committee had a meeting, and items on the agenda including a presentation from our Finance Director on revenue projections over the next 2 years and impact to the Aquatic Center financing plan. Public Works Director Keegan Luttrell gave a presentation regarding capital improvement and maintenance projects that we have currently done at the pool and what we're anticipate doing at the pool. There was a discussion and direction regarding retaining a consultant to provide their professional opinion on repairing the existing aquatic center. And the ad hoc committee gave approval to hiring a consultant and forwarded it to City Council for approval. And I believe it's on the October 13th City Council meeting agenda. Last but not least, the committee discussed what items they wanted on the future agenda, and we're going to start having regular committee meetings. I think it was also discussed whether to extend the term of the ad hoc committee, as with COVID, we weren't able to meet for a number of months. And I think the City Council, they're going to forward that item. I think it's on the next agenda to forward to City Council for possible extending the group. So productive meeting, and we'll see what happens next time.
Thank you. Questions or comments on the ad hoc pool committee? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 7. Julie, we have an action item on a verbal report, is that correct?
There's no verbal report. There's just a verbal report.
Okay, no
reports to
action.
appro-
Gotcha. Okay, verbal report from Director Hall on Bootleg Canyon.
Thank you, sir. Well, COVID-19 has really curtailed the large special events at Bootleg Canyon, and the governor has limited the number of people allowed at special events to 50 people. And we are anticipating the governor loosening the restrictions, as I mentioned, in the next few weeks as a number of cases seem to be going down. The zip line, I believe, is still closed at Bootleg Canyon, and people are anxious to resume special events, and we're waiting for the governor's directive to rescind or relax his directive. So, again, as we said, we're very hopeful that the governor will be doing that this week sometime, and then we'll be able to, improve our special events around Boulder City. So that is the end of my report.
Thank you. Questions or comments there? Okay, item number 8 is for action on the reports for facilities, maintenance issues, and various operations and community events. Do I have a motion to approve that report?
I move to approve it.
Not needed? Okay. Sorry. No action required there. Is that Roger? Is that you?
I do have some, normally what we do is we ask around the Parks and Rec commissioners to see if they have any issues with facilities or anything like that. But I do have a couple pictures that, since we haven't met in a while, that Kelly's going to pass out. I can start, and then maybe if you have any commissioners that would like to say, why don't I do that?
Go ahead.
So, the building phase 2 of the restroom concession building at Wayland Field is continuing. If you look down there, they're going, and Kelly's passing them out. This is phase 2 of the concession building. This is the part where the concessions will be. Also, they'll be able to film the games up on top with, it's a very high structure, and we're looking forward to getting that in service. Second thing is the renovation of the recreation center. The pictures also of the diseased trees, we're very lucky to get those out, as we found all the big trees had big disease and could have possibly been a bad day in Boulder City with extreme winds. But we'll pass those out. The renovation, construction of the irrigation system and the turf and all that turned out wonderful. It was recently overseeded. Public Works overseeded last week or 2 weeks ago, and you can see we're green. The overseed really took, and we're looking forward to a nice green turf during the winter months. The awning improvements at the Boulder Creek, every time it rains at Boulder Creek, the pavilion floods, and it was really a hard time getting the water out for special events, and it always floods when we have something big going on, and we have to get the fans going or whatever. We were able to put some additional awnings there to take the water away from the pavilion, and hopefully we are anticipating that it worked really well. We're waiting for the first big rain to see how that works. Another thing is the famous cave that was that a certain individual lived in for several years has been sealed finally. And Julie has been very active with our homeless population in Boulder City and should be commended for her work. She drives into Vegas all the time for her continuums, always on calls with other agencies in the Valley. And we appreciate her hard work on the homelessness area. Also, during this early summer, we resurfaced the splash pad at Veterans Memorial Park, and also some pictures of the new splash park. It's working great. The kids are loving it. Thank God we had it during the COVID because I guarantee you we had a lot of people using it. The parents were looking for ways to get their kids out, and the splash park was a very, very good way to do that. Also, Teddy Fenton Park, the renovation of that park turned out great, and some of these pictures show what it looks like at night. If you haven't had a chance to go by there, they did a great job with that park, and it really lessened maintenance and really looks nice. And then we, last but not least, we worked with the National Park Service and Public Works to construct a new River Mountain Loop Trail kiosk. And here's a picture of the kiosk, and we're very happy with what came out of it. They used really heat-resistant material. It's really, really pretty. It's very instrumental, and it's located in that parking lot above St. Jude's, where you start off on the River Mountain hiking trail, the 6-mile loop going up to Red and Black Mountain up there. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you. Any comments from any of the commissioners on Parks and Recreation related topics?
With this windstorm that we recently had, I mean, I'm looking at these and there's no center of these trees.
Yeah.
With the windstorm that we just had, was there much damage anywhere around that had to be cleaned up?
Well, Kelly sent me pictures of some trees that were not completely down with the roots exposed. I mean, that's how hard the wind came at Veterans Memorial Park. Did we have any other areas that...
Work order just went in also for Hemingway. A bunch of the old mesquite trees in the outfield were uprooted and they're resting on the outfield fences. But we lost 7 of them in the big windstorm, Carla, at Veterans. Of the big ones, the ones that are in the common area by the volleyball courts and the ones at the entrance off of Buchanan.
Thank you.
I had a question on the homeless. Are we having any problems with the restrooms and stuff through the community? I know a couple of times we had to call, people were like in the restroom forever.
We have occasional problems. Not always, not ongoing. We try to get assistance. So I wouldn't say we have problems all the time, just on occasion.
The police are helping us out in that?
That is correct.
Okay.
I have just kind of a general question. Looking over the revenue thing, obviously you've taken a monster hit. Have you done any preliminary thinking about where Parks and Rec's going to have to, or what they're going to have to deal with financially? You're probably funded through this fiscal year, right? Or calendar year?
And so what we're doing right now is trying to play that balance game of revenue versus expenditures and really being conscientious of the money that we are spending and trying to have that be very minimal and hoping for the best and hoping things improve quickly. But yeah, we're monitoring it regularly, trying to come up with revenue streams and or creative ways to support some of our programs, and then, of course, watching our spending very closely.
Do you anticipate losing programs after the budget year or whatever you're funded through?
I would say right now, no. the only programs we're going to lose is because of lack of participation, which is a natural occurrence in the field. But other than that, we're not anticipating any, no.
And then the capital projects that were like pickleball courts, et cetera, are kind of put on hold until, okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Again, the public is welcome to call in. The telephone number is on the screen there. It's 702-589-9629. If anyone wants to call in now, please do for public comment. Again, that number is 702-589-9629. And we'll give it a few minutes, see if anybody calls in. Appears to be a pretty light public comment period. So with that, we will take a motion to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a motion for that?
I move.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, guys. Do you want me to just hit the hang up button?
Please.